And we're here at the MedtechVISION conference, and I am thrilled to introduce Dr. Charisse Sparks, who's been kind enough to sit with us and get a little insight into what's been going on today. Thanks so much for sitting down.
Thank you so much for the invitation. I'm super excited to be here.
Yeah, me too, me too. So, can you give me a little history? Are you a part of this organization for a length of time, or are you relatively new?
I'm relatively new, but I came in with a bang. I'm also the steering committee chair for MedTech Color Collaborative Community.
Okay.
So that is part of my involvement, but have been a member of MedTech Color and MedTech and AdvaMed for about 5 years.
Yeah, I imagine coming in with a bang is pretty much the norm for you. You seem to have that kind of feel. So then it's a good question to ask of how does this differ from other conferences? Because you and I both, I think, could say that a lot of the conferences we've been to are pretty much all work. There's not any vibe there of any kind. But what do you think's different about this?
Well, MedtechWOMEN especially is so different for me. I'm an orthopedic trauma surgeon, so I don't look like many orthopedic surgeons. So the one big difference that I noticed right away is the line to the women's bathroom. Yes. There's actually a line, and at most orthopedic conferences that I go to, there's no line at the women's bathroom. But on a serious note, the camaraderie, the ability to immediately connect with people in the room and find out there's such deep expertise that you didn't know that you had right in your own network. The things that you hear other women in this group talk about, the journeys that they've been on mirror yours, and you're all of a sudden not alone anymore in where you've been and where you're trying to go. So that is one of the most impactful things of this entire conference is the depth of expertise that is here, the grace that is in that room, and the passion as you described.
What do you think of the patient keynote speech today? I'm curious your perspective since you're an MD.
I think it was fabulous because it is such a unspoken subject for women to be in the forefront and to be raising their voices about things that are important to them. And to us, I said them, and to us. I have a womb. And I had some of those very same issues, but really had no one to talk to about it. And I feel only blessed because I was a physician, so I knew how to ask clinical questions. I knew how to ask for more information. I knew how to challenge a pathology report. I knew to look for a pathology report. And if you don't have that kind of advocacy, where are you? And so to have someone as engaging as Melissa was this morning to come out, actually energize this audience, because I'm gonna tell you, I felt a little bit of anxiety when she first hit the stage. You could feel in the room, many of the women didn't exactly know where to put her. But by the time her message was over, she was embraced, she was credible, she was exalted, and now everybody is trying to get a moment of her time. So she did what a keynote speaker should do.
Well, listen, it is amazing how you can transform a room in such a short period of time. And I'm looking forward to seeing the recording. I was busy out here when I should have been in there. So the organization has an item that's somewhat pervasive, which is this feeling of reaching back and saying, okay, I've hit a certain level of success or achievement or hit my aspirations, and people have helped me. And how can I reach back and help them? And so you have a totally different perspective in that you haven't been in medical device corporate for very long. So I'm curious from both vantage points. One from when you were a physician and in med school and doing your residency and all of that, and then in the corporate world now that you're with Applied VR, and you were with J&J prior, I think, right?
Correct,
okay.
Yes.
So I'm curious about that feeling of reaching back in your life for you and by you.
Right. Well, let's start from the very beginning. When I started my medical career, I'm not going to tell you how long ago that was, there was nothing like email. And I was going into an area where there wasn't anybody that looked like me. And I was just trying to find somebody that looked like me. And I finally found somebody that looked like me. So I had to write her a letter, put a stamp on it, and mail it to her institution just to say, I'm here too. And what I found out in that is I was the third black female trained as an orthopedic trauma surgeon in this country. So at the time that I first came out, there was only 2 other people that were doing the thing that I wanted to do.
Were you them at Kansas or no?
No, no, one was in Atlanta and one was in New Hampshire. So, so no, but immediately she was uncertain about saying, okay, I'll be a mentor, because she was so busy keeping her head down to try to do her job, that how do I make time for this other person? But I really stalked her. Made sure she knew I was there. But also, we have grown, and over the many years, we are best friends now. But also, she taught me how to be a good surgeon. She taught me how to take good notes. She taught me, if I had to be deposed, how to do a deposition. You know, all kinds of things that no one else would walk out of their way to do. And so now, my gift to her was my asking for her help. But now she is the biggest advocate and mentor to others and bringing others along with her, and I'm following right with her. And so I think that is what's so important, is if you know the rules, you can play the game. And some of us just don't even get access to the rule book. Well, those of us that have had access need to share the rules, and that's what I try to do. Tell you not do it the way I did it, but share some of the things that you can do to help you on your own journey. So that to be an advocate and to elevate and to support the development of talent is something that I am so passionate about, whether that be in clinical practice or as I moved into industry, helping people understand where their talents lie and then helping them exalt those talents. So the way I got to industry, someone saw me as a clinician, and apparently a pretty good one. And so when the acquisition of Synthes by Johnson & Johnson happened, a friend of mine who is the vice president for North American sales for Synthes now, or DePuy Synthes, called me and said, hey, would you think about coming in and being medical director for the orthopedic trauma business at J&J? And I was like, I looked right, I looked left, because I thought somebody, you know, that game Punk'd Me. I thought somebody was doing that.
Yeah, are you talking about?
Yeah, because no one, I had no idea that job even existed.
Yeah.
But he reached back and said, I see something in you, and I think you would be good at this job. And so after about 8 months, I decided to leave clinical practice because it wasn't something I could do both. As a surgeon, it's really hard to sort of be part-time surgeon. But in that, I've grown to know that, yes, you have to use your voice in not only amplifying issues, but in support of others. So mentorship is really important, but I'm learning sponsorship is even more important, where I use some of the chips I've earned on someone else to help elevate them. And so those are the values, and those are the things right now that really energize me and keep me going, to watch others blossom, to watch others meet their dreams and aspirations.
All right, so I've never asked anyone this question, but you're one of several physicians I know have gone in industry, but I've never asked, like, what happens when you make that transition? Do 20 physicians call you and say, what's it like? What's it like on the dark side? What happens?
Yeah.
Do you really not on call? Are you really not dealing with trauma? Like, is that happen, or is it more they're like, listen, that's your journey. I want to keep practicing?
Well, it happens before when you tell people that you're going to make that transition. It's like, what are you doing? Are you nuts? What is that about? Why would you do that? But then when you start telling them about the opportunity, I think most physicians want to have an impact on patients. And what I share with them is, now I have an opportunity to have an impact on not just one patient at a time, but maybe hundreds of thousands or millions, because I'm going to go to work for Johnson & Johnson, you know? And then they look at it very differently. I said, look, I get to understand innovation from the back of the napkin to the time you get to implant it in your patient. And guess what? I get to be one of the first people to do that implantation, because I'm going to do it. I don't get to do it on a live person anymore, but I get to go to the cadaver lab to make sure the device that we deliver to you is what you actually need. And guess what? I'm one of you. So I get to ask different kinds of questions. I get to shape what happens and how that is delivered to you. So to me, what a tremendous opportunity. But I'm going to tell you, I didn't do it without a net. I'm still board certified till 2029, and I have licenses to practice medicine in 6 states. So if this whole industry thing doesn't work out for me, I can still go back.
I'm imagining the response was silence from those people, because that's just a blow away kind of answer where I'm like, okay, that's really well said. What about the concept of the feel here? It's the word I keep using is festive. There's something about it that's unique, and you had mentioned it earlier when we were talking, just how wonderful it all is. With that said, though, what happens tomorrow when everybody hugs and says, "God, so great to see you," and then you go back to work, and the momentum and this incredible feeling of togetherness dissipates because you're not in the same room anymore? How do we continue this? How do we continue the programs and the progress of making sure that women have every opportunity to do everything that they want to do?
I'm going to ask you to think about it differently.
Shoot.
I don't think it's festive. I think it's authentic.
Okay.
And I think it's a release for the times that imposter syndrome sneaks in your daily life and you're not able to bring your complete self and demonstrate all the talent that you have. And I think in that room, all of a sudden, there's a big sigh and there's a big, like, I can be exactly who I want to be. I can be as smart as I am and I can share it with people. And then when you leave, I don't think it dissipates. I think what you're reminded of is that feeling and to know that it was okay for you to be you in all of your glory. So you may close your eyes tomorrow and say, oh, this is a tough time today. But I was with a bunch of women yesterday and I said this very same thing and it resonated and it was truth and my truth was withheld. So I can say it again today. So I think you are empowered when you leave here, not riding a wave of momentum.
So you think it just perpetuates itself just based on how fantastic it makes everyone feel? I don't know if it's validated or reinforced or whatever word you want to use. Okay, I'll take it.
Yeah. And I think the other part of that is now you know that there are at least 20 people that you met in that room that gave you a business card or gave you contact information. So when you have that trial or tribulation or you're asking that next big question, you got 20 other people that you can run it by that you didn't have before you got here. So how can you be let down from that? All of a sudden you have a network, you have a safety net that you didn't have before. And everybody is going to take your call. You don't have to worry. They will take your call.
Well, I can definitely speak to that. For 20 years, those women have been taking my call.
Yeah, yeah.
Deb and Amy and I go back and back and back, and there's dozens of others in there. I'm curious about one thing. So do you ever go back to the university level or med school level or even high school level and say, this is exactly what it looks like to be an orthopedic surgeon, and answer questions and just give the younger generation a bit of an understanding of what's possible?
Those are the best days of my life. And yes, sir, I do it as often as I can do it. And I start with even little bitty kids.
There you go.
And I had a video of a gentleman painting the Sistine Chapel in animation, and he falls off the ladder. And so it shows how I do my job. So it shows implants, it shows the power tools, it shows, you know, him getting back up and moving at the end of that. And little kids just love it. I mean, because there's no blood. Okay, there's no blood.
Also, it's a Marvel movie.
Yeah. So, you know, but then when you get to the high school, it is just like the lights turn on because they had no idea that they could even be that. Maybe they knew they could be a doctor. But what the heck is an orthopedic surgeon? Many people don't even know what I do or how I do it. And then when I talk about transitioning to industry, how do you become a medical director and then a vice president of clinical, medical, and preclinical affairs, and then a chief medical officer? How do you do that? Or what is that? And how did you get there? So just the opportunity to say the words gives these students an opportunity to think very differently and to dream bigger. And who wouldn't want to be a part of that?
Well, you have a unique background in that you can touch the being the physician part, the orthopedic part, an executive at one of the largest corporations on this planet that every kid in high school will know the products Johnson & makes. And then you slide into applied VR with something that anybody who's a tech geek would love to learn about. If you're not speaking to kids, I'd be yelling at you. I mean, you got to.
Yeah, and I want to. So it's not that I got to, I want to. So every opportunity when anybody asks me to come, or I just know in the circles that I'm in the groups that I'm involved in, whenever there's an opportunity to reach back and be on a panel or go to a luncheon or any opportunity, I'm there. So you don't have to ask me twice. And I've been blessed with every opportunity I've ever been in, even in clinical practice. If these opportunities have come up, either my partners have said, yes, you need to go and do it, or those at J&J or those at Applied VR say, yes, we fully support you. Go take time and go spend time there, because that's important.
And what's the Kansas City region like as far as that goes? Are they receptive to you coming to the schools? Has it been?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Kansas School District and also the Shawnee Mission School District are both huge advocates of STEM. And so they're always
Overland
looking.
Park area?
Yes.
Yeah, I know it.
So they're always looking for people to come. And you know me, if I'm gonna go, I'm gonna drag some friends too. So I'm gonna try to take everybody I can with me. So.
Well, that's fantastic, man. I had a feeling when I asked you to do this was going to be sensational. I love when I'm right, because it doesn't happen that often. Everybody, this has been Dr. Charisse Sparks. Get to know her. Thanks so much for sitting down.
Thank you.